In the heart of Enugu, nestled among the serene hills and luxurious estates, lived a girl named Chinyere Nwokoye. The only child of Chief and Lolo Nwokoye, one of the wealthiest and most respected families in eastern Nigeria. Her father built an empire in construction, and her mother ran a renowned fashion house in Awka. But despite the affluence, Chinyere was raised with humility. She grew up surrounded by love, culture, and quiet prayers whispered into her ears each night. Just across the estate lived Ikechukwu Ezema, the only son of Chief Damien and Lady Ifeoma Ezema, another billionaire family that made their fortune in agriculture and oil distribution. The Ezemas and the Nwokoyes were not just friends, they were family in every sense that mattered. Traditions bound them, partnerships connected them, and their children, Chinyere and Ikechukwu, were inseparable from the moment they could walk. From nursery school to secondary, they were classmates, seatmates, and soulmates, long before they knew what that meant. They played together, laughed together, even got punished together for sneaking puff-puff during a Sunday service. Everyone could see it. Their bond was pure, rare, and destined for something greater. But life, as always, had its turns. At just 15, tragedy fell like a lightning bolt. Ikechukwu's parents were on their way to Abuja for a business meeting when their private jet crashed, killing everyone on board. The entire Igbo community in Enugu mourned. It was the darkest moment in Ikechukwu's life. The once joyful boy became quiet, withdrawn, hollow. Chinyere never left his side. She would sneak out of her room at night just to sit beside him in the garden, saying nothing, just being there. She wiped his tears, helped him study, and reminded him how to smile again. Their friendship grew deeper, stronger, until it transformed into love. Years passed. They attended university together. He studied business administration, she studied sociology. After NYSC, their families, especially Ikechukwu's grandparents, pushed for marriage. And why not? They were already each other's world. The wedding was like a royal celebration. Gold and ivory decor, traditional dances from all over Igbo land, and guests flying in from overseas. Chinyere wore the most beautiful George wrapper and coral beads, and Ikechukwu, he looked at her like she was the only woman that had ever existed. Everyone said it was the perfect love story. But perfect doesn't always last. Barely a month into the marriage, Chinyere whispered into Ikechukwu's ear one night, "I want a baby." He chuckled and kissed her forehead. "Let's fill this house with children," he said. And so they tried. The first pregnancy came with excitement, a surprise test at 5 weeks. But at just 10 weeks, she woke up to blood on the sheets. It was gone. She cried in his arms for days. He held her, reminded her it would happen again. But when it did, it ended the same way. Then it happened again. And again. 10 pregnancies, 10 losses. One of them, a stillbirth at 7 months. A baby boy they had already named Chukwunonso. Chinyere's soul shattered. She stopped dressing up, stopped leaving the house. Her mother brought pastors, doctors, herbalists, even took her to a mountain to pray. But nothing changed. Ikechukwu tried everything to keep her afloat. He bought her books, flew her to Dubai, took her to the best fertility centers. But she was no longer the girl he married. She had become a shadow, living only in the hope that maybe, one day, she would hear a baby cry and know it was hers. After 5 long years of loss and grief, they decided to try IVF. The process was long, stressful, and draining. But it worked. This time, the embryo stuck. This time, there was hope. Chinyere took no chances. She stopped working, stopped driving, stopped cooking. She refused intimacy, refused outings, refused almost everything. She was going to keep this baby, even if it meant locking herself in a golden cage. Ikechukwu supported her at first. But days turned to weeks, and weeks to months, and his wife had become a caretaker of the unborn. She barely touched him, barely spoke. It was like living with a ghost. But in the 9th month, on a bright Tuesday morning, Shinae gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. They named her Ebuba, meaning glory. And truly, she was. Shinae's world shifted, her joy returned. But only for the child. Ebube became her obsession. She bathed her 10 times a day, monitored every sneeze, every cough, every yawn. She refused help from nannies, mothers, even Ikechukwu. No one could touch Ebube except her. Ikechukwu watched the woman he loved pour all her affection into their daughter, leaving him in the cold. At first, he was patient, then confused, then lonely. 2 years passed, then 3, then 4. They were no longer husband and wife. They were co-parents in a mansion. Whenever Ikechukwu brought up their fading intimacy, Chinese snapped, "You're being selfish! Do you know what my body has been through? You should understand!" And he did, until he didn't. Loneliness crept in like a thief, and when his secretary Amara, a young, elegant woman with kind eyes and soft laughter, started paying attention, he fell. What began as stolen glances became flirtations, then late-night chats, then passion. For the first time in years, Ikechukwu felt seen, heard, desired. He hated himself, but he couldn't stop. Months passed. He lived a double life, husband at home, lover at work. But love, once drained, is hard to refill. One day, without warning, Ikechukwu packed his things and left. No arguments, no explanations, just silence. Shinae came home from visiting her cousin and found her husband's closet empty. There was only one letter. "I've loved you with everything, but for years I've been alone in this marriage. I'll come back for Ebuba. For now, I need peace. I'm done." Shinae was numb. She tried calling, texting, begging. Nothing. Weeks passed, then a month, then 2, until one evening she got a message from an unknown number. It was a photo, Ikechukwu and Amara, engaged. And worse, Amara was visibly pregnant. Shinae dropped the phone and screamed. Her mother came rushing in and held her as she crumbled to the floor. "He left me. For her. He gave her what I begged for," she sobbed. She was consumed by rage, grief, and betrayal. Ikechukwu didn't stop at leaving. He married Amara, quietly, privately, a traditional ceremony in her hometown. And months later, Amara gave birth to twin boys. The same man who once said, "I'll wait forever for you," had moved on. Shinae was heartbroken, but not defeated. Ikechukwu wanted a shared custody of Ebube, but Shinae refused and was ready to fight back. In court, she filed for full custody of Ebube, fearing Ikechukwu would take her away and raise her with another woman. Court dates dragged on. Lawyers exchanged bitter words. But in the middle of it all was little Ebube, confused and hurt. One day, she ran away from school and showed up at her father's office with tears in her eyes. "Daddy, stop fighting Mummy. I just want my family back." Those words broke Ikechukwu, and broke Chini too when she heard it. They both realized how far they had drifted from the love that once lit up the sky. But it was too late. The love had withered. The roses had died. Years passed. Shini never remarried. She raised Ebube with fierce love, but also began to heal. She joined support groups for women dealing with infertility and miscarriage. She began speaking publicly, advocating for maternal mental health and emotional healing. Ikechukwu and Amara stayed together in love. Their passion for each other grew deeper each day with shared communication and affection. One day, Ebube, now a young adult, published a memoir, When the Roses Withered, A Daughter's Story. It became a bestseller. In the book, she wrote, "I watched my parents love each other, then watched them fall apart. I saw the beauty of devotion and the cruelty of silence. This story isn't to shame them, but to remind the world that love must be watered, even through pain. Emotional neglect can be just as painful as betrayal. Men grieve too, and suffer in silence. Children watch and remember everything. Marriage is not just about love, but effort, communication, and balance. Healing takes time, but it starts with truth." The end. If this story touched your heart, please share, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more interesting African stories. See you next time.